guess some speaker wire inside. I say we upgrade this thing.
I mean, I would get insurance on it, and then it would upgrade it to pile of ashes.
Oh, we got insurance.
There you go.
I buy scratch tickets. Don't I have insurance? I buy a lottery ticket when it gets to like close to $1 billion. Does that count as insurance?
It's the same thing.
Like say you bought Bitcoin at like $1, okay? And a bunch of it, right? You've got a ton of money. I think the strongest investment you can make, people say real estate, people say, you know, different kinds of assets. I say lottery.
We have an obvious problem. This distance is less than this distance.
Yeah, I see how that could be I didn't know when I got this camper that it was a lowrider, all right, but in some neighborhoods that is a good thing. So what you're saying is because my RV is so good, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult to get the generator out because it's so good. Not because of a bad thing, but because of how great it is.
Sure.
I think I accurately summed up what you just said there.
You definitely said some words.
So, got any solutions there, Captain Problems? So there's a good chance we don't have to use that because there's a good chance for some reason this generator for the first time in history wants to, and a 1 and a 2.
Let's hit the go button.
Yeah, it's literally never done that. I've turned it over 1,000 times.
What?
Because for no reason.
Wants to.
Didn't like that sound.
It didn't want to. It doesn't want to. It's got bolts that come off.
You know, might have spoken too soon.
Well,
back in a minute. Corey's a little upset at my socket storage deal, but here's the thing. I've had my sockets stored like this for
too long.
Years.
Too long.
When I find a socket, I just rifle through until I find the one that's close, and if that doesn't work, it's usually the ones that are the same size or close to the same size. They flock together inside that little box right there. Yeah. This all started because someone gave me a cheap socket set years ago, and I was like, oh cool. I opened the lid, there was a piece of foam in there, and I was thinking, oh cute, the foam's going to keep the sockets clean. And let me tell you, it wasn't there to keep the sockets clean. It was there to keep the sockets in place. So I took the foam out, set that aside, closed the case that the sockets were in, stood it up, you know, like a suitcase, like you'd carry a socket set, and all of the sockets went to the bottom of the box. So I spent, I don't know, I exaggerate it if it was 15 minutes. To put them all back in place in the right spots. I put the foam in there, closed the suitcase of sockets, stood it up, and they all fell to the bottom again. So this is what we end up with. We end up with a box of sockets, and honestly, it's worked out pretty well. Someday, maybe if somebody wants to send me a fancy box of sockets that doesn't fall apart,
I am yourself a cheapskate.
But until then, that's what we're gonna have. So, back to the generator work.
Ready? Bring on.
Attempt number 2.
No.
So as you can see, it didn't start, and we tried a couple more times. It got to the point where it was comical, and I wasn't going to try and record anymore because it wasn't going to start. It shot out some black crap at my knee, which is fun. We think it might have been Nick Cage's one of the crystal skulls from that movie. That wasn't Nick Cage, that was Indiana Jones. And anyway,
I think they call him Harrison Ford.
Oh, Harrison Ford, not Nick Cage? They're not the same person? Well, anyway, the venue has changed because we're underneath this thing back to plan A.1/Omega, which was take the generator out. And we got to be underneath here to be able to do that. I don't know. You wanted to You wanted to actually get it running and not have to take it out. But what that means is we got to disconnect a bunch of stuff, which isn't as big a deal if you have a lift. We don't, so here we are.
Oh, that's why they did it like that, because they stick it out. Cool.
So we got fuel pump, we got fuel lines, brake lines, and all this nonsense. What we're doing now is, or at least what I'm over here doing, is disconnecting some
That was a rock.
fuel line while Corey's over there smashing his face into some rocks, apparently. Anything you want to add to that, or did I pretty much nail it?
Undo the fuel line, please.
I thought you were going to sing Unbreak My Heart.
This doesn't taste good.
Okay, look at the camera because you have fun. You know that trick that people play when they put like grease on a pair of binoculars? You did that to yourself, to your mouth.
I am my worst enemy. We all know that.
All right.
Hey, this will be cool because this generator will have an exhaust leak just like the truck does.
No.
Pretty sweet. All right, I got my part done. I definitely want to climb under it, for sure. I have all the confidence that I won't get my head squished like a milk. No, we'll just put some tire chocks under it, I guess, and then pray. Okay, let's send it. Let's go. Put her in the measure, make sure we have enough room. Well, I mean, I don't think we're putting enough faith in my guesswork. Not sketchy at all.
Any estimations on what this thing's gonna weigh?
Well, 5K generator, 300 pounds.
300 pounds.
Well, at most. It's an Onan, and they're made out of many nans.
If we were weighing this in humans, I would say like, I mean, I don't want to be mean, but if we're just
300
being...
pounds, half of an American.
Hey-o.
Whoop, there comes a little bit of the generator. Probably should put something under it before I take out the rest of the bolts.
Yeah, should we have a strategy maybe? Let's have a strategy.
I'm doing the strategy. Oh, wrench.
Well, we didn't have a third person to run cameras to get the excitement, but the generator is lowered. That's step
Keep hearing about
17.
This mythical device.
What, the camera?
Tripod.
Tripod?
I knew a guy once.
Yeah, that's me right now, tripod.
Nope.
Not in the fun way. You're gonna organize those blocks and Lego them back together before you put them in there, aren't you?
Yep.
All right. You shouldn't do something in one step that someone else has to fix in the next step. It's not nice.
I don't want your life.
All right, well, we're going to continue moving this and herniating ourselves as much as possible to get it back into the truck. That is a generator out of a camper and in the back of a truck.
Yeah.
Which was the goal, and it's something that we set out to do. And when you set goals for yourself and you work towards those goals, you read enough motivational speeches and you make enough motivational speeches and you channel the hopes and ambitions of a generation
Or divinity. Channel divinity.
or channel divinity through your hearts and minds. If you link a bunch of hands together across America,
I just think you need to roll a D20 to channel divinity.
if you believe that children are the future, and
Roll a D20 enough.
long story short, you end up with a generator in the back of a truck. Good job, everyone. Chopped. So, been a couple of days since we took the generator out of the Airstream, and we're gonna keep working on it. See what's actually wrong with it. We've tried to get it to run a number of times now, and it seems like it wants to fire over. From what we know, this thing's been parked for
17 years. I don't know if anyone's tried to run it in that amount of time. As you'll see, the generator's got just under 500 hours on it, I think. Fuel gets to it. Starter seems strong enough as long as there's enough juice getting to it. I think it's just a matter of take it apart, put the cleaning fluids to it. You know, good old can of brake clean, carb cleaner, whatever you got lying around that'll break down all the oils and greases and carbons and dusts and nastiness that's inside of that thing. Hopefully there are no mice families living in there that are happy as can be, that probably have a headache now that they've been transported a couple dozen miles from my town to the next. But I'm headed over to Corey's right now. He's got the generator. He's unloaded it from his truck and it's in his shop now, ready to be worked on. So I'm going to help him do that to the best of my ability. And we're in the trusty smart car, which you'll hear more about soon, hopefully. I mean, assuming I find time to keep putting these videos together. So let's see if we can get into that generator.
I'm gonna go on the middle. Do we want to put it on a block, like in the middle of that thing, so we can actually work all around it? Hurt my pants. Nice.
This is pretty hard work, if you ask me. So you gonna excuse yourself after that, or? Oh, there's a special lift for it.
Yeah, it's a lift.
Do you want to plug your lift sponsor, or?
Nope.
This lift has been provided free of charge by Lifty McGee's.
Lifty McGee's lifts for all your lifting needs.
Saving you back so we don't go to look at your cracks.
Hey,
Thanks, Lifty.
you might want to prime it first.
Yeah, it's automatic.
Did you talk nice to it first? Is it gonna run? Holy shit! What are we even working on it for? And it's actually not running, obviously. Video trickery, folks. Just go into montage mode. Why is your drill so sticky?
Because I use it when I have grease on my hand.
That'll be it.
And no other thing.
Put in the comments, how many of you, when you're walking around with a drill and not drilling things, switch it from forward to reverse just out of habit? I do it. Probably, I don't know, probably someone's gonna say that'll break it, but I still do it. And I've had a drill, same drill, long time. I do this out of habit. Hasn't broken yet. Now that I've recorded this though, it probably will break. Well, we got the case off, and as suspected, it's a bunch of old metal and, you know, just doing what old metal does, I guess, which is as expected. We're gonna have to tear into it some more. I mean, these acorns in reality is like par for the course for the rest of the motorhome. I mean, these were everywhere. And I mean, I think I like the ratio of acorn to mouse poop, if that's a positive. There are way more acorns than there is poop.
Nope.
Yeah, there has to be.
Poop's at the bottom.
There's some of it in there.
Corn's on the top.
Corn floats to the top. I mean, it's dirty, it's old, it's crusty. It looks like an old generator, it looks like.
I can vacuum that shit out of there. With a vacuum.
Yeah, that's probably going to be the next thing is...
Get a shop vac and vacuum all that out.
You want to clean it up first?
And then I'm going to pull the plugs out. And then we're going to make sure it has fire like it's supposed to, which it probably will. And then I'm going to take this fuel line off. That's our supply line. So this is like a regulator, a fuel regulator, so that you don't get power unless you're pushing a button. And this is common for a failure point on these, so I'm going to bypass it.
Yeah, we'll just dump fuel right to where it wants to have
like
fuel.
Fuel in, filter, regulators, like a solenoid on that side, and it's obviously as rusty as it can be. And then probably, actually, I should take the carburetor off because I think we were actually getting fuel out of that. I filled a Poland spring bottle with it, so
right.
Maybe I'll just take this off. It won't take long to just 2 screws and pop it right off. Take the bowl off, make sure the jets aren't plugged, which they probably are.
Assuming that it doesn't cost, the price of one of those SpaceX reusable rockets, then we'll do what we can to find the capital and make it happen, I guess.
2 best days in a camper owner's life: the day you buy it, the day you sell it.
Oh, look right here. It's rust. More rust.
Oh, I thought you were going to point out the money that it was going to need. It was a gold.
I think my scope on this part of the project, because I am mechanically capable for a lot of things, but when it comes to like when you have to pour fuel into something and then figure out why that fuel is not doing what fuel likes to do, I just assume hand that to someone who does more of that stuff. However, what I am good at is running a Windex bottle and an SOS pad and spray paint can. I can do a spray paint can all day long, probably. If I had enough spray paint, I'm spray painting all day long. So that's why stuff like this is best left to the professionals.
And we can't find any of those, so here I am.
we found the nearest to the professional we can find.
Idiot.
Watch the professional do some more YouTubing on his side. All right, well, it's becoming a bit of a situation to get this carb off of here. Decided that's the right thing to work on next. So while he gets to wrenching on that carburetor, I'm going to get rid of some of these acorns, handful of them. We'll keep a collection in there, I'm sure, not by choice, but most of them are going to go. All right, we got a bunch of that junk cleaned out of there. It is looking a lot better in and around all the components and stuff. By a lot better, I don't mean perfect or good or even almost good, but it's looking better. There are less biological items in there that shouldn't be in there. Off camera, got the intake manifold taken off there. The carburetor was decided it just wanted to be attached to it permanently, so that's on the bench now. You can see. So we're going to tinker on that a little bit more. All right, well, it's the next day, and after we got all the acorns cleaned out, did a bunch of cleaning and lubricating and got the intake off, carburetor off, apart, cleaned up. Maybe a little bit more detail about that on Corey's channel. Put the thing back together and started having other issues, which is as expected. The thing sat for a long time. We're having spark issues, so think the last thing you saw when it was still intact was it wanted to fire, didn't want to run, which is a common problem with the Onan generators, is when you let go of the starter button, they won't run. So they'll run while you're holding the start button. They will not run when you let go of the start button. It's such a common thing, in fact, that if you look through the Onan owner's manual, and it's like any of the owner's manuals, there's a whole 3 or 4 pages about troubleshooting that exact issue. What happens? What do I do if I let go of the start button and the generator shuts off? Involving oil pressure sensors, brushes that attach to the generator, so if it's not sensing a voltage output from the generator, it'll shut itself down. Oil level low, oil level high, all kinds of different things. Also, another issue that it just randomly started having when we put it back together is no spark at the spark plugs. And at this point, we had done enough work on it that we were kind of tired of working on it for the day. We tried a couple other things. I tried the oil pressure sensor just to see if that would change anything as far as it not, keeping a voltage, which I guess doesn't matter if it's getting no spark to the spark plugs. So we put it away for the night and just wanted to think about it for a bit. And Corey went out early this morning, tried a couple other things. All of a sudden found that it now has spark. It's got spark at the spark plugs. So putting a new set of plugs in it, putting everything to a point where it should run. I'm going to pick up an oil change for it on the way there, some filter, oil, a couple other things. Just some maintenance things that it should just have anyway. And we'll pick it up once I get to his place.
So I just got here at Pelletier Homestead number 2, where the generator is being worked on. And like I said, from the last time that I was here, Corey messed around with it a bit and got it running. So here it is. I don't know what gremlins needed to leak out of it overnight, but luckily they did. I think the battery might have had something to do with it, but I don't know. What do you think?
Maybe.
Maybe that had something to do with it. Here it sits on the bench, a little bit more put together than it was the last time we looked at it. Carb's been out, been cleaned, picked on a little bit. Some of the schmutz is out of there, but it's back on there now and it's running. So what we're going to do now that it's running is, as you can see, there's an oil pan under there. We're going to change the oil. Who knows how old that oil is. Take the oil filter out of there, put a clean filter on, clean oil in there, and maybe give this thing some more life like it deserves. Alright, the oil change is done. There's a filter in there, there's some fresh oil in there that's not 1,000 years old. And we're about ready to start, or at least Corey's about ready to start putting some parts and pieces in place so that when you hit the start button, it starts drinking some gasoline and maybe makes some noise. I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
Hey.
Oh.
This thing is quiet as hell, and that's with no box around it. I don't know how this is coming across on the microphone, but I'm raising my voice a little bit. Corey's hearing is not even that good, but I think even he can hear me talking over this thing running. And as an added bonus, if I come over here to the bench, I think we're generating some gigatoules over here. I think that's something special. Say what you want about us Pelletier boys. This one especially that you're looking at. We can turn some wrenches sometimes, and every now and then
you know, the right thing happens as opposed to the wrong thing. So,
We means me.
well, I was looking at you when I said this guy. They know what I'm talking about. You probably, on this channel, you're not going to see me with like really dirty knuckles and stuff. So,
Oh, what? I don't think you're supposed to play with that.
broken forever.
But I think the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to wire up a little receptacle to this bad boy.
I was going to say, wouldn't it be cool if we
And,
could like turn on a light bulb as like
yeah.
a symbol of
Yeah, I'll
putting
find-
this thing back to life?
I
Or,
don't have a lot of plug-in tools, but I'll find one and
You know,
make it work.
I just
That'd
had
be
the
cool.
perfect idea. All right, well, that would have been the part where I had this real fun idea of plugging something in to the generator, waiting for that thing to power up, sort of a confirmation that the generator was resurrected, ready to go again. And of course, with old equipment, sometimes that's how it works. This time that's really not what happened. So it's a couple weeks later, and I'm on my way over again for him and I to take a look at the generator for a third time. It's just how things go in the real world, I guess. Things don't just happen all in one day, all at one time. Sometimes you need parts that you didn't realize that you needed when you start a project. Hopefully, though, this is the last time. And we'll get into it a little bit more once we're there, but it needed some parts that you kind of can't really live without. Let's just skip to when I'm there and we're working on it. But before we get there, I think I'm going to stop and pick old Corey up. Nice little peace offering. I mean, Corey and I. Sometimes you need a little junk food to pep up your morning, you know? You know what I'm talking about? Golden arches will come through. Golden arches will come through for you every time. Thank you. Have a good one. Does it make it all okay?
It's not Dunsters.
Plugged anything else into it, I thought it'd probably be a good idea to just give this thing one more test because it's running so good. Let's hit the old starterator. Wait, what happened? Push it harder. Are you wanting it hard enough?
Hold on.
I hear it clicking.
We should pick the generator up by its bootstraps and see if it'll go.
It doesn't. The generator doesn't want it enough. Well,
Stop eating avocado toast!
did something change between the last time we tried and start this?
The housing market.
Now, the housing market went up. Gas prices went up. There's a new war. But we checked all those things, and they're not. I don't think they're. Is there something maybe around like this side of the generator that's causing it? Not wait. This doesn't look like it. What's the big hole in the back of the generator?
Where you used to be.
There's no. That's where the starter goes, Corey.
Maximum weight reduction.
That's where the fuel pump is disconnected. Why? What's happening there? Well, I think we kind of gave away the lead by having the new starter right here. So what happened is we had all these fun ideas because it was running and it seemed like it was running really good. Wasn't super loud or anything like that. And went to start it and there was a clickety clackety clunk. And that clackety clunk led to some something went bad, and then we decided to punt because at that point it was getting frustrating. And in that time, dearest Corey over here decided to take the starter off because it sounded like the starter was having some issues. And actually, it was having real issues.
Travel in a blender.
Those issues I'll actually put up on the screen. So if I can do the fancy thing that people do, where they put videos up on the screen, right here-ish on my hand, if all's working well, you can see that the starter's got some parts in it that, well, it should be one part, or two magnets in there, basically like 2 shell magnets.
In addition,
Regardless,
some form of magnets and windings.
The number of magnets that it had multiplied using nature's math. I think there was like what happened is this thing hadn't been run a long time. I think what happened is it started, ran, generated heat. Parts that hadn't been heated up in a long time had become brittle just because things get brittle and degrade over time. Heat soaked into everything, and I think that's it let the magic smoke out of the starter is what happened. The smoke left the starter. There were bits and pieces and carbon and nastiness, and so Corey went on ahead and did the right thing and made the starter disappear. It's gone now.
I
So
recycled it into trash.
as Derek likes to say, I went on the Jungle website and bought this. Ding!
Jungle website.
It's another thing. It's a new starter. I bought a new starter, and while I was at it, because it wasn't a ton of money, I bought a new fuel pump. And look, if there's anything else on this starter that needs to get replaced at this point,
Generator, you mean?
yeah, generator. Starter's getting replaced. If there's anything else in this generator needs replacing, it's like, what else can you replace at this point?
Might as well just change the whole
There's a generator. We could replace the generator part of the generator, right? I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of that. We could run a giant belt. Oh, here's an idea. We could run a big old belt from the V8 in the camper. Run a belt, or like one of those whirly-gigging tube hoses that spins like a rotary thing to run the engine on this, like a whirly-gig doodle bopper, and that'll run the generator.
We could just do a delete.
just do a delete. What would you delete? Just be right here that you delete, or like over here that you would delete?
Put the generator in the camper and then delete everything the generator's touching.
Well, it's like our dear father likes to say, take off the radiator cap, drive a new car underneath it, put the radiator cap back on. I don't think we're quite there yet. I mean, obviously there's a lot of work that pretty much everything in every project on this camper needs. So let's get this money to noise converter back in shape, and we'll get a starter in there. You'll see some of that. I'm just gonna, at critical points where I don't want to film, honestly, I'm just gonna link you over to Corey's video because he's gonna give you a more in-depth view. I'm just showing you where we're flicking off the dust. That's all I'm showing you. He's going to show you the details. This isn't a how we rebuild engines channel. It's supposed to be like how we travel and see stuff and like fix an old camper along the way. Eventually we'll get there. All right, let's fix this thing. All right, fuel pump installed, check. Wiring to the fuel pump, check, we think. Starter, look at that. That is shiny and new, newest and shiniest things on this generator. And got a fuel supply to the fuel pump. Starter.
Oh, air supply.
Yeah, copyright strike.
So we're at the point now where we're about to wire it up and get ourselves a power supply and see if it starts. I don't think there's any reason why it won't. I've said that before though, so well, let's see. It can't sound better than that. I can't. It's quieter than it was before. I don't know how. Help me understand. That just about does it, I think, with the generator. Obviously it needs to be installed. I'm going to do that another time. That'll be part of another video, because the Airstream is going to be up on a lift at some point. I'm going to try and take advantage of that, get it up on a lift, and maybe have somebody else's muscles put the generator into the camper, because, you know, why work smarter if you're harder? Why be harder if you work? Why work smarter when you can be smart, is what I'm trying to say. Just be smart. But, you know, I think we did the smart thing, because, you know, what we can do now is I can lean in, assuming this is still plugged in. I can put my finger on this here button. And it just decides that it wants to run, and there ain't no problem with that. And you can reverse the process by hitting the stop button. You know, we took advantage of it being out of the camper. Throw a couple coats of spray on there, because why not? It's basically a brand new generator at this point. I mean, you don't need to go and buy all those expensive nut and bolt kits and seals and gaskets and everything if you can go get a $5 can of spray paint. It's the same thing. There's no difference. So I guess the point is, if you got the project, think about it, do some diagnosing, don't just throw it out right away.
Take it to somebody else's house.
Take it to somebody else's house that knows more than you about this kind of stuff. Put a little bit of thinking into it, maybe a little bit of money, a little bit of elbow grease, a cup of fuel or two, and some time, and saved. I mean, we looked at these things, they weren't cheap to replace these generators. I'll just put it that way. Anywhere between $2,000 and $4,000 for a generator similar to this. And, well, I have this one, so why buy a new one, right? Good work, everybody. Thanks for watching.